The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt is one of those rare games that feels more like a world you live in than a game you just play. Released in 2015 by CD Projekt Red, it became the gold standard for what an open-world RPG should be. Every inch of it feels hand-built. Every hill, village, and ruined castle tells a small piece of a bigger story. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter known as a Witcher. He's not your typical hero. He's tired, sarcastic, and has seen too much of the world to believe in fairy tales. The main story is about his search for Ciri, a girl he raised who's now being hunted by the Wild Hunt, a supernatural army that brings winter and death wherever it goes. But calling it just a hunt for Ciri doesn't do it justice. The story goes deep into politics, war, love, and loss. It's mature in the way real life is, messy, emotional, and full of choices that don't have easy answers. What makes The Witcher 3 so impressive is how everything you do feels like it matters. Even side quests, which in most games are just filler, have real stories behind them. One mission might start as a simple job to kill a monster, but turn into a moral question about who's truly in the wrong. The writing is sharp, believable, and full of gray areas. People don't fall into neat good or bad boxes. They're complicated, just like the world around them. Combat feels weighty and grounded. Use swords, magic signs, and potions to take down everything from humans to massive beasts. Preparation actually matters. You study the monster, brew the right oils, and plan your approach. That feeling when you finally take down something huge like a griffin is unforgettable. The game rewards patience and thought instead of button mashing. But what really makes The Witcher 3 special is its world. The lands of Valen, Novigrad, and Skellige all feel alive, not just because of how they look, but because of the people who live there. You ride through fields at sunset, hear distant thunder, or stumble upon a burned village, and it all feels real. The soundtrack, the voice acting, the atmosphere, everything pulls you in. And then there are the expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, which could easily be full games on their own. They expand Geralt's story in ways that are even more emotional and creative than the main game. By the end, you don't just finish a quest, you feel like you've said goodbye to a world that actually meant something. The Witcher 3 isn't just one of the best RPGs ever made, it's one of the best stories ever told in gaming, period. It captures what makes games powerful: choice, consequence, and the feeling that your time in its world mattered.
Consider it an honor.
Oh, that'd be a sight to behold.
Would it ever? Done. But if I win, I take your sword.
Agreed.
I'd not drink any more this night. You'll want your head about.
Baldur's Gate 3, developed by Larian Studios and released in full in 2023, it's built on Dungeons & Dragons rules, but instead of feeling like a tabletop game turned digital, it feels like an entire living world reacting to you in real time. Every line you speak, every dice roll, every decision, it all shapes what happens next. It doesn't just give you freedom, it respects it. You start as a character infected with a mind flayer parasite, which sounds like a nightmare because it is. These things literally turn people into monsters. But instead of being a simple curse, it becomes the core of the whole story. You and a handful of companions, each with their own baggage and secrets, set out to find a cure. What begins as survival slowly turns into a huge story about power, gods, and who you decide to be when things fall apart. The characters are the heart of it. Shadowheart, Gale, Astarion, Lae'zel, they're more than just party members. They argue, flirt, disagree, and sometimes even walk away depending on what you do. You can side with them, betray them, or fall in love with them. The writing makes every choice feel human. Conversations feel alive, like real people reacting to what's going on, not scripted lines waiting for your next button press. Gameplay-wise, it's turn-based combat, but it's full of creativity. You can kick enemies off cliffs, blow up barrels, or use spells to twist a fight in your favor. You can sneak, steal, talk your way out of fights, or burn the whole place down. The game never punishes you for playing your way. Even something as small as how you enter a room can completely change what happens next. And visually, it's stunning. Every area looks handcrafted. Ruined temples, moonlit forests, and busy cities full of secrets. The camera angles and facial animations make it feel cinematic, but still personal. When someone stares you down across a dialogue screen, you actually feel the tension. What makes Baldur's Gate 3 stand out isn't just its depth, but how much it trusts the player. It doesn't push you down one path. It lets you mess up, improvise, and then own the outcome. You can play it as a hero, a villain, or something in between, and the game always reacts naturally. It's like every choice you make builds a version of the story that's truly yours. It's easily one of the most detailed RPGs ever made, not just for how much content it has, but for how personal it feels. Whether you're sneaking through the shadows, arguing with a god, or watching a campfire scene where your companions quietly open up, it all adds up to something real. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just a game you play once, it's a story that changes depending on who you are when you play it. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or just KOTOR, is one of the most important RPGs ever made. It came out in 2003, built by BioWare before they were even known for Mass Effect or Dragon Age. Back then, most Star Wars games were about action or space battles, but KOTOR did something completely different. It slowed everything down and let you live in that world, making choices, forming relationships, and deciding who your character really was. The story is set thousands of years before the movies, in a time when Jedi and Sith were everywhere. You're not playing as Luke or Anakin. You start off as a normal soldier who slowly gets pulled into something much bigger. As you move from planet to planet like Tatooine, Dantooine, and Korriban, you build your own crew, explore ancient ruins, talk to locals, and slowly uncover your past. It's not just a good versus evil story, it's about identity, trust, and power. And if you've ever heard about that plot twist, yeah, that's from this game. It's one of those rare moments in gaming that completely flips everything you thought you knew. The gameplay itself feels old school now, but it was really ahead of its time. It uses a D20 dice roll system under the hood based on tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons. You pause mid-battle to pick attacks, use force powers, or command your teammates. It's not flashy, but it's strategic, and you really feel in control. You can build your Jedi however you want, go all in on lightsabers, or use the Force to manipulate enemies. And customizing your lightsaber with different crystals to change its color or stats felt amazing back then. What made KOTOR stand out, though, wasn't just the gameplay, it was how alive everything felt. The companions you met weren't just side characters, they had depth, backstories, and opinions about your actions. HK-47, the assassin droid, had this dark humor that became iconic. Bastila and Karth had actual emotional arcs that tied into the bigger story. And the choices you made, whether you helped people, betrayed them, or used the Force selfishly, all added up. By the end, the game didn't just show you a story, it showed your version of it. Even now, over 20 years later, KOTOR still holds up because of that writing and sense of freedom. It's one of those games that reminds you why people love RPGs, not just because of graphics or combat, but because of how they make you feel like you lived another life. It's the kind of game that sticks with you long after the credits roll.
Mass Effect 2 is one of those games that just gets everything right. It's part space adventure, part emotional story, and it makes you care about every single person on your crew. You play as Commander Shepard, who literally comes back from the dead after the events of the first game. From there, you're thrown into a darker story. Humanity's being taken by an alien force called the Collectors, and it's your job to put together a team and take the fight to them. What makes it hit so hard isn't just the story, it's the people. You meet a wild mix of characters, a quiet assassin, a smart scientist who talks too fast, a broken soldier, even a psychotic biotic who loves chaos. Each one feels real. You don't just talk to them, you learn who they are, help them fix their problems, and earn their trust. By the time you get to the final mission, these aren't NPCs anymore. They feel like friends. And if you screw up, they can actually die for good. The game plays smoother than the first one. The combat feels quick and punchy. You take cover, use your powers, and work with your squad. Every weapon feels heavy and satisfying. It's not overcomplicated, but it's sharp and clean. The mix of story and gameplay is just right. You never feel bored and you never feel rushed. The writing is simple but full of life. You can talk to anyone on your ship and every line adds something new. Even the small moments like checking in with your pilot Joker or listening to crew banter make the world feel alive. You travel across space, visit weird planets, deal with gangs, aliens, corporations. It always keeps things fresh. And the ending? Easily one of the best in gaming. The suicide mission lives up to its name. One bad choice and people die. Every upgrade, every conversation, every decision you made earlier comes back here. It's tense, emotional, and unforgettable. Mass Effect 2 isn't just a good sci-fi game, it's the kind of game that makes you feel part of something bigger. It's about loyalty, trust, and what kind of leader you choose to be. Even years later, no other game has captured that same mix of action and heart quite like it.
Disco Elysium: The Final Cut is one of the most unusual RPGs ever made, but in the best way possible. It's slow, strange, and completely built around words instead of action. You play as a detective who wakes up in a trashed hotel room with no memory, no idea who he is, and a murder to solve. From there, everything unfolds through dialogue, not just with other people, but with your own mind. Your thoughts talk back, argue with you, and sometimes straight up bully you. It's like having 20 different voices fighting for control in your head. The game takes place in a city called Ravakal, which feels broken but real. It's full of ruined buildings, people trying to survive, and old ideas clashing with new ones. You don't just question suspects, you dive into philosophy, politics, addiction, and regret. The writing is sharp, but human. It doesn't hold your hand or force you to act heroic. You can be smart, kind, cruel, pathetic, or all that at once. What's special about Disco Elysium is how much freedom you have to shape who you are. Every skill in the game is basically a piece of your personality. Empathy, logic, authority, drama, and they all talk to you. If you build up empathy, you'll read people's emotions better. If you boost logic, you'll see clues others miss. But if you rely too much on one side, it can mess you up. The game constantly reacts to the way you think and speak, making every conversation feel alive. The Final Cut version adds full voice acting and new quests tied to political beliefs. That makes the world feel even more personal and immersive. The actors bring each character to life, and the soundtrack, calm, sad, and beautiful, makes even quiet moments feel powerful. There's no combat in the traditional sense. The whole game is about choices, words, and how you deal with failure. You can talk your way through almost anything, or make things worse with a single bad line. Sometimes the best moments come from mistakes, not success. Disco Elysium isn't for everyone. It's slow, heavy on text, and often weird, but that's exactly what makes it special. It's more like reading a great book you get to shape yourself. It proves you don't need big fights or fancy graphics to tell a deep story. You just need good writing and the courage to be different.
Planescape Torment. This one is a legend, and it's not like other RPGs. It came out way back in 1999, and it was made by a team called Black Isle Studios. These are the same people who made the first Fallout games, so you already know the writing is going to be on another level. And it is. This game is probably 90% reading, and that is what makes it so good. It uses the Dungeons & Dragons rules, but it's set in this super weird part of the D&D universe called Planescape. Forget about green forests and dragons and normal castles. You are in a place called Sigil, which is also known as the City of Doors. This city is like this giant donut-shaped town floating in the sky, and it sits right in the middle of all the different dimensions or planes. This means you have portals or doors that can lead to anywhere. You might open a closet door and it leads to a world made of fire, or a puddle in the street could take you to a land of ice. The city is full of strange people. You will walk into a bar and see a regular person having a drink next to a big fiery demon who is sitting next to an angel, and nobody is freaking out. That is just Tuesday in Sigil. The whole place feels dark and gritty and old. So you start the game by waking up on a stone table in a mortuary, a place that processes dead bodies. You have no idea who you are. Your name is the Nameless One. Your body is just a mass of scars and tattoos from a life you cannot remember. You quickly find out that you are immortal. But this is not a cool superpower, it is a curse. Every time you die, you just wake up again, usually in a lot of trouble, and you have lost all of your memories. You have lived thousands of lives. You have probably been a hero, a monster, a king, and a beggar, but you do not remember any of it. Your first companion, the very first friend you make, is a floating, talking skull named Morte. He just floats around cracking jokes and insulting people, but even he has his own dark secrets. The whole game is not about saving the world, it is a personal story. You are just trying to find out who you are. Why are you immortal? What did you do to deserve this? And maybe, just maybe, how can you finally die for good? The gameplay is what really sets it apart. This is not a game about fighting. The combat is actually the worst part of the game. It's old and clunky, but the game knows this. It wants you to talk. Your most important stats are not strength or dexterity.
They are intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. When you put points into intelligence, you don't just get more magic points, you literally unlock smarter things to say in conversations. Your character will understand a complicated idea or remember a tiny piece of your past. If your wisdom is high, you will notice things in the world that other characters miss, which can open up whole new quests. You can play almost the entire game without getting into a single fight, just by being smart and talking your way through it. The game is like a giant interactive book. It's all built around this one single question that the game asks you over and over. What can change the nature of a man? It is a total masterpiece, and there is still nothing else like it.
Fallout New Vegas is one of those games that sticks with you long after you're done playing. It came out in 2010, made by Obsidian, and it's still seen by a lot of players as the best Fallout ever made. It's set in the Mojave Desert after a nuclear war, where people are just trying to rebuild life in the ruins of old America. You play as a courier who gets shot in the head and left for dead, but somehow survives. From there, you set out to find the man who tried to kill you, and end up caught between huge powers fighting for control of New Vegas and the wasteland around it. What makes this game shine isn't just the world, it's the freedom. You can side with anyone. The New California Republic, Caesar's Legion, Mr. House, or just go solo and take everything for yourself. The game doesn't judge you, it just lets you live with what you do. Your choices actually change how the world reacts. Whole towns can survive or fall depending on what you decide. Even small dialogue choices can shift the story in ways you don't expect. The writing is some of the best ever done in a post-apocalyptic game. Every faction has a reason for what they do, even the brutal ones. The world isn't black and white, it's full of gray areas. You meet survivors, soldiers, gamblers, drifters, all trying to make sense of the chaos. The conversations are rich, full of personality, and often darkly funny. The game has a sharp sense of humor, but also moments that hit hard. Gameplay-wise, it keeps the same first-person RPG style from Fallout 3, exploring, looting, shooting, but adds depth. Skills like speech and science open up new ways to solve problems. You can talk your way out of fights, hack into systems, or blow things up if that's more your style. The world is full of hidden secrets, side quests, and random stories you can just stumble into by walking in the wrong direction. New Vegas also nails the setting. It's dusty, quiet, and full of that old Western feeling, but twisted by the nuclear age. You've got old Vegas lights shining in the middle of a dead desert, with gangs and robots running wild. The soundtrack mixes old 1950s radio songs with eerie wasteland silence, making it easy to lose hours just wandering around. Fallout New Vegas isn't perfect. It's buggy, rough around the edges, but that's part of its charm. It gives you freedom most modern games are scared to. It trusts you to shape your own story, whether that ends with peace, chaos, or total domination. Few RPGs have managed to capture that mix of humor, choice, and sadness quite like this one. It's messy, human, and unforgettable, just like the world it takes place in.
Chrono Trigger is one of those games that feels timeless, even though it came out back in 1995 on the Super Nintendo. Made by Square, it was a dream project. Some of the same people who worked on Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest teamed up to create something special, and you can feel that care in every part of it. It's an old-school Japanese RPG, but it never feels old. It's fast, smart, emotional, and full of heart from start to finish. The story starts simple. A kid named Chrono goes to a fair, meets a girl, and something goes wrong with a teleport machine, sending her through time. That small event turns into a huge adventure that spans thousands of years, from prehistoric times to the far future. Along the way, you meet friends from different eras, a cave woman, a robot, a frog knight, a princess, and together you try to stop a world-ending creature called Lavos. It's classic save-the-world stuff, but the way it's told makes it special. Chrono Trigger doesn't waste time. The pacing is tight, no endless grinding, no boring filler. Battles happen right on the map with no random encounters. The combat system mixes teamwork and strategy. You can combine moves between characters, creating powerful techs that feel fun and rewarding. It's simple to learn, but deep enough to keep things interesting all the way through. What really makes the game stand out, though, is how much your choices matter. There are multiple endings depending on what you do, when you face Lavos, and who's with you. It was way ahead of its time for giving players that kind of control. You could replay it again and again and still discover something new. The music is another reason people still talk about it today. Yasunori Mitsuda's soundtrack is unforgettable. Every tune, from the peaceful town themes to the epic boss music, adds emotion to the story. And the art, designed by Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, gives every character personality without needing fancy graphics. Chrono Trigger isn't just a classic, it's one of those rare games that still feels fresh no matter when you play it. It's simple but powerful, emotional without trying too hard, and full of moments that stay with you. It's the kind of RPG that makes you remember why people fell in love with this genre in the first place. Dragon Age Origins is one of those RPGs that pulls you in from the very first hour and keeps you hooked all the way through. Released in 2009 by BioWare, it feels like a return to classic fantasy, dark, detailed, and full of choices that actually mean something. You play as a Grey Warden, one of the last warriors sworn to protect the world from an ancient evil called the Blight. But before you even get there, the game lets you choose your background, human, elf, dwarf, and each one starts with a totally different origin story. That alone makes it feel personal right from the start. The world of Ferelden is messy and alive. It's full of politics, betrayal, and people just trying to survive as Darkspawn rise from underground to destroy everything. You're not some perfect hero, you make hard calls, and sometimes there's no right answer. The story mixes big fantasy ideas with small human moments. Loss, loyalty, power, love. It's got that old school tone that modern games often miss, where dialogue and choices matter just as much as combat. Speaking of combat, it's tactical and satisfying. You can pause the game mid-fight to plan moves, switch between party members, and use spells or attacks in smart combos. You don't just mash buttons, you think ahead, set traps, and control the battlefield. Building your team matters. Each companion has their own fighting style, story, and opinion about what you do. If they hate your choices too much, they might even leave you. The companions are a big part of why the game works so well. Characters like Alistair, Morrigan, and Leliana feel real, funny, flawed, and unpredictable. They talk to each other while you travel, argue during missions, and open up the more time you spend with them. You can agree with them, fight with them, even romance them, and it all fits naturally into the story. The writing is sharp but easy to follow, and the voice acting gives it weight. Every quest feels like it ties into something bigger. Even side missions have meaning, you learn about the world through them instead of just checking off tasks. The choices you make along the way, who you side with, who lives or dies, shape the ending in major ways. Dragon Age Origins feels like a mix of old and new RPGs done right. It gives you the depth and choice of the classics, but keeps it grounded with real emotion. It's not just about slaying monsters, it's about the people standing beside you and the world you're trying to save, even if it's falling apart. It's rough, honest, and still one of the best fantasy stories ever told in gaming.
Persona 5 Royal is one of those games that just oozes style from the moment it starts. Released by Atlus, it's a Japanese RPG that mixes everyday life with wild, supernatural action. You play as a high school student who's falsely accused of a crime and sent to Tokyo to start fresh. But soon you discover you can enter a hidden world called the Metaverse, a place built from people's twisted desires. There, you and your friends become the Phantom Thieves, a group that steals corruption straight from people's hearts. The setup sounds crazy, but it works because of how well the game blends two sides of life, the normal and the unreal. By day, you go to school, hang out with friends, study, and build relationships. By night, you dive into massive, stylish dungeons full of monsters called shadows. The way those two sides connect is what makes it special. The stronger your friendships in the real world, the stronger you become in battle. It's all about balance, managing your time, building bonds, and growing as a person. The turn-based combat is classic but fast and smart. You find enemy weaknesses, pull off team combos, and summon personas, powerful versions of your inner self that give you new abilities. It's flashy, colorful, and never gets boring. Every battle feels like a performance, backed by one of the coolest soundtracks ever put into game. Seriously, every battle theme hits hard. Persona 5 Royal isn't just about fighting, though. It's about rebellion. The game dives into how people get trapped by society, guilt, or pressure, and what it takes to break free. Every character you meet has their own struggles, some funny, some heavy, and watching them grow feels rewarding. The story tackles real stuff like abuse, loneliness, and self-worth, but always with heart. What makes the Royal version special is how much more it adds. There's new content, a new semester, extra characters, and a richer ending that ties everything together. It feels more complete, more emotional, and even smoother to play than the original. The art, music, and writing all work perfectly together. The menus move like animations, the voice acting strong, and the city feels alive. Every moment looks and sounds cool, but there's also real depth under all that style. Persona 5 Royal isn't just one of the best JRPGs ever made. It's a reminder that games can be fun, stylish, and still tell something real. It's long, bold, and full of life. Once you finish it, you'll probably wish you could forget it just to play it fresh all over again.
Final Fantasy VII. Here you go. Let's talk about Final Fantasy VII. This game is a giant in video game history.
It came out in 1997 for the first PlayStation, and for so many people, this was the game that changed everything. Up until this point, Final Fantasy games were on Nintendo consoles and were 2D, top-down fantasy adventures. This game was completely different. It came on 3 separate black discs, which was a huge deal and made it feel massive. It was 3D. Well, sort of. The characters were these little 3D polygon people walking around on these incredibly detailed pre-rendered backgrounds that look like paintings. Then, when a fight started, it would zoom in and you would see these much more detailed, taller 3D models of your characters and the monsters. It was a huge technical leap and it just looked incredible. The story starts in the city of Midgar. This place is a perfect example of Cyberpunk. It's a dark, dirty city run by the Shinra Electric Power Company. This evil corporation is sucking the planet's life energy, called the Life Stream, out of the ground and using it for power, and the city is dying because of it. You play as Cloud Strife. He's a mercenary with spiky hair and a giant sword. He claims he was a member of Soldier, which is Shinra's elite military force, but now he's working for an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche. Their mission is to blow up the Mako reactors that are draining the life stream. The game starts with you on that bombing mission. At first, you think the whole game is just going to be about stopping this evil company, but then the story just gets so much bigger. You find out about a man from Cloud's past named Sephiroth. He is the real villain, and he is one of the most famous bad guys in all of gaming. He is tied to this ancient alien being named Genova, and his plan is to wound the planet so badly that he can absorb all the life stream and become a god. The story gets really deep and emotional. It talks about a lot of heavy stuff like loss and who you are as a person. There is one famous moment involving a character named Aerith that shocked everyone who played it. It showed that video games could tell stories that hit you really hard. The gameplay was also top-notch. It was turn-based, but it used the active time battle system, so you had to wait for a meter to fill up before you could attack. This made the fights feel fast and a little bit stressful. The best part, though, was the materia system. You would find these little magic orbs all over the world. You could equip them into slots on your weapons and armor. Green materia gave you magic spells like fire and ice. Red materia let you summon giant monsters like Ifrit and Shiva to fight for you. Blue materia would support other materia. For example, you could link a blue all materia to your fire materia. Now when you cast fire, it hits all the enemies instead of just one. This system let you customize your characters in any way you wanted. It was so much fun to find new combinations. It also had limit breaks, which were super powerful moves your characters could use after they took enough damage. This game just did everything right. The story, the music, the characters, and the gameplay all came together to make something people still talk about today.
Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of those games that feels alive in every way possible. Made by Larian Studios, it's a deep fantasy RPG that gives you total freedom to play how you want. You can fight, talk, sneak, steal, or charm your way through problems, and the world always reacts in surprising ways. Nothing feels forced or fake. The story starts simple. You're a prisoner on a ship marked as Sorcerer, someone who can use a dangerous kind of magic called Source, but soon things go bad and you're thrown into a world full of war, gods, and choices that actually matter. You can play alone or with up to 3 friends, and every character has their own past and motives. That makes the story feel more personal, not just another save the world quest. What makes this game stand out is how much it respects your creativity. Every fight is turn-based and plays like a smart puzzle. You can set oil on fire, electrify water, freeze blood. Almost everything in the environment can be used to your advantage. If you think something should work, it usually does. That's rare in games. Even outside combat, freedom is everywhere. You can talk to animals if you learn the right skill, dig up secrets with a shovel, or just decide to kill a key NPC, and the game won't break. It just changes course naturally. The writing is sharp too, with plenty of humor and depth mixed together. Visually, it's gorgeous. Colorful, detailed, and full of small touches. The world feels handcrafted, from the forests and cities to the creepy ruins you stumble into. The music sets the tone perfectly, calm one moment and intense the next. Divinity Original Sin 2 isn't about rushing to the end. It's about exploring, experimenting, and finding your own story inside it. It gives you so many ways to play that no 2 runs feel the same. That's why it's often called one of the best RPGs ever made, not because it tells one great story, but because it lets you shape one yourself.
Baldur's Gate 2: Shadows of Am is one of those rare RPGs that built the foundation for how deep and personal role-playing games could feel. Released in 2000 by BioWare, it took everything from the first Baldur's Gate and expanded it in every direction: story, world, characters, and choices. Even after decades, it's still talked about as one of the best examples of classic PC role-playing done right. You start the game captured by a powerful and mysterious mage named Irenicus. From there, you slowly build your freedom, gather your party, and dive into a huge world filled with gods, monsters, and moral choices that actually hit hard. The writing is smart and emotional, with conversations that feel natural and alive even by today's standards. Every character has their own background, voice, and small story that connects to the bigger one. Characters like Minsk, Jaheira, and Vaconia still stand out as some of the most iconic companions in RPG history. The world of Amn itself feels massive. You can wander through dark forests, haunted temples, bustling cities, or ancient ruins. Every area hides new quests, strange creatures, and secrets that reward you for exploring. It's not a game that holds your hand. It trusts you to read, think, and make tough calls. And every decision, big or small, can shape how your journey unfolds. Combat is built on the Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition rules, so it's all about tactics. You pause time to plan your moves, cast spells, and position your party just right. It can be challenging, but it's deeply rewarding once you get the hang of it. You feel like you're actually leading a real group of adventurers through impossible odds. What really makes Baldur's Gate 2 special is how mature and detailed it is. It doesn't just give you a quest to finish. It gives you a world full of moral choices, personal goals, and real emotional weight. The voice acting, the hand-painted backgrounds, the soundtrack, everything works together to pull you in. Even now, with its enhanced edition, the game still feels fresh because the writing and design were way ahead of their time. It's the kind of RPG that makes you stop and think after you finish it, because you realize how much of yourself you put into it. Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Amn isn't just a game, it's one of the biggest reasons why story-driven RPGs became what they are today.
The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. This game is an absolute giant. It came out in 2011, and people are still playing it today. And I mean playing it on every console, every computer, and probably even on refrigerators at this point. It was made by Bethesda Game Studios, the same people who do the Fallout games, and this is their big fantasy world. The game starts, and you are a prisoner in the back of a cart. This is a classic Elder Scrolls thing. You are about to get your head chopped off, but right at that second, a massive dragon attacks the town. In all the chaos, you manage to escape. You run into a nearby dungeon, and once you get out, the game just stops holding your hand. It opens up, and you see the entire land of Skyrim in front of you. It's this huge, beautiful, snowy place full of mountains, pine forests, and ancient ruins. The game basically just looks at you and says, "All right, see you later. You can go anywhere you want." You find out very quickly that you are not just some random prisoner. You are the Dragonborn, or the Dovahkiin as they call it. This means you have the body of a human, but the soul of a dragon. This is a huge deal because the dragons have just returned to the world after being gone for thousands of years, and you are the only one who can truly kill them. When you kill a dragon, you absorb its soul. This lets you use their magic, which is called shouts, or the Thu'um. These are words of power. The most famous one is Unrelenting Force, where you shout, "Fus Ro Da!" and it just sends enemies flying off cliffs. It is one of the most fun things in any game ever. The main story is about you, the Dragonborn, having to stop the giant evil dragon named Alduin, who is called the World Eater. But here is the thing about Skyrim. Almost nobody plays it just for the main story. The real game is everything else. You can just pick a direction and walk. You will find a cave, and that cave will lead to an ancient Nordic tomb full of skeletons called Draugr, or you'll find a hidden bandit camp, or a giant's camp, or a weird magical stone. The game lets you be whoever you want. You want to be a big warrior with a giant hammer? Go for it. You want to be a sneaky archer who shoots people from the shadows? That is probably how everyone plays it. You want to be a powerful mage who shoots fire from your hands? You can do that too. The way you level up is just by doing things. If you swing a sword, your sword skill gets better. If you sneak around, your sneak skill gets better. It just makes sense. You can also join all of these different groups. You can go to the companions in the city of Whiterun and become a warrior, and you find out that they're all secretly werewolves. You can go to the College of Winterhold and become a master wizard. You can join the Thieves Guild in Riften and steal everything that is not nailed down, or you can join the Dark Brotherhood, a cult of assassins who get murder contracts from a talking corpse. The side quests in this game are better than the main quests in other games. This game is a machine for creating stories. You will just be walking to a new town, and all of a sudden, a dragon will swoop down, a pack of wolves will attack you, and a giant will run in and start fighting the dragon all at the same time. It is this amazing open-ended sandbox where you just live another life.
First off, you have to understand this is not like the other Final Fantasy games. It's not about a group of friends traveling the world on an airship to fight a big magic monster. This game is a serious, grown-up story about war and politics. It's a tactical role-playing game, which means the combat plays out on a grid, like a 3D chessboard. Where you stand and which way your character is facing is super important. It's all about strategy. This version, The War of the Lions, is an updated version of the original game that came out on the first PlayStation way back in 1997. This new version, which came out on the PSP, added these beautiful animated cutscenes that look like a living storybook. It also has a brand new English translation that makes the story feel like you are reading something written by Shakespeare. It's very fancy, but it fits the game's serious mood perfectly. The story is set in the world of Ivalice, which is the same world as Final Fantasy XII. The whole game is told like a history lesson. A historian in the future is looking back at a huge war that tore the kingdom apart called the War of the Lions. The history books say the war had a big hero, but the historian thinks the official story is a lie. The game is you playing through the life of the real hero, a young nobleman named Ramza Beolv. Ramza starts out as a good kid, a knight in training who believes in honor and justice, but he gets thrown into this war between two powerful nobles who both want the throne. He quickly learns that the world is not fair. He sees how the nobles treat the common people like dirt, and he sees all the backstabbing, lies, and betrayals that happen behind the scenes. The story is dark. It is about how history is written by the winners, and how good people who try to do the right thing often get forgotten or even called villains. The gameplay is the other thing that makes this game a masterpiece. It has the best job system ever made. Your characters can be one of many different jobs. You start with basic ones like a squire or a chemist. As you use a job, you earn points that you use to learn new abilities for that job. Once you level up a job enough, you unlock new, more powerful jobs. For example, if you level up your squire, you unlock the knight and the archer. Level up your chemist, and you unlock the white mage and the black mage. The best part is that you can mix and match abilities from different jobs. You could have a character whose main job is a knight, so he wears heavy armor and uses a sword, but you can give him the white mage's cure spell as a secondary ability. Now you have a powerful knight who can also heal his friends. You can make a ninja who can also use a samurai's powerful sword techniques. The combinations are almost endless, and it is so much fun to build your perfect team. The battles are tough too. If one of your characters gets knocked out and you do not heal them in a few turns, they die forever. They turn into a crystal and are gone from your game for good. This makes every decision in every battle feel super important.
Yakuza Like a Dragon is one of the boldest turns a long-running series has ever taken. Instead of sticking to the usual brawler combat the older Yakuza games were known for, this one completely flips the script into a turn-based RPG, and somehow it works beautifully. It's both serious and ridiculous, heartfelt and absurd in the best way possible. You play as Ichiban Kasuga, a low-level Yakuza who takes the fall for his clan and spends 18 years in prison. When he finally gets out, everything's changed. His family's gone, his old boss has betrayed him, and he's left with nothing. But instead of giving up, Ichiban decides to start over and build a new kind of party with the people he meets. A homeless ex-nurse, a cop who lost his job, a bar hostess, and more. Each one has their own story and reason to fight by his side, which makes the group feel like a real family. What really makes the game stand out is how it mixes real emotions with over-the-top humor. The one minute you're dealing with homelessness, loyalty, and broken dreams, the next you're fighting street thugs dressed as mascots or summoning a crawfish like a Pokemon. It shouldn't work, but it does. The tone switches between raw drama and pure insanity without ever losing heart. The new combat system feels surprisingly deep too. It's classic turn-based fighting, but mixed with real-world movement, like grabbing nearby bikes or signs mid-battle. Each character has different jobs that change their abilities, just like a traditional RPG, but with a funny twist. You can literally turn a character into a musician or chef and use their job skills in fights. It keeps things creative and constantly surprising. The city of Yokohama looks amazing and full of small details, karaoke bars, arcades, side stories, and weird mini-games everywhere. You can spend hours just exploring or getting lost in side content that's as entertaining as the main story. What makes Yakuza Like a Dragon special is its heart. It's not just about revenge or power, it's about people who've been kicked down trying to stand back up and help each other.
Ichiban isn't the cool, silent type. He's loud, kind, and naive in a way that makes him incredibly easy to root for. It's not only one of the best RPGs in recent years, it's also proof that taking risks in a long-running series can pay off. Yakuza Like a Dragon is wild, emotional, funny, and full of soul, the kind of game that leaves you smiling long after the credits roll.
The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. This is a special one. This is the game that really put the Elder Scrolls on the map for a lot of people way back in 2002. It came out before Oblivion and way before Skyrim, and if you go back to it now, you can see it is a completely different kind of game. It is the one that old school fans always talk about with this special kind of respect, and it deserves it. First, you have to understand the world. This is not the snowy, Viking-filled land of Skyrim. You are in Morrowind, the homeland of the Dark Elves, the Dunmer. And this place feels like an alien planet. It is so weird and unique. You get off the boat and the first thing you see are giant mushrooms that are as tall as skyscrapers, and people live inside them. The main way to get around is by riding in the shell of a giant insect bug thing called a silt strider. The sky is often red from the ash blowing out of the giant volcano in the middle of the island, Red Mountain. The animals are not just wolves and bears. You have these long-legged flea things called nixhounds and flying creatures that look like jellyfish. The elves who live there are super suspicious of you. They call you an outlander and they are not happy you are there. It does not feel welcoming at all. It feels like a real strange place that does not care about you. Like the other games, you start as a prisoner. You are on a boat and they just dump you in a little swamp town called Seydanine. A guy gives you some papers and tells you to go find some man in another city. That is it. The game does not give you a big fancy quest marker pointing exactly where to go. An NPC will give you directions like, go east out of town, follow the road until you pass a big rock, then turn north toward the coast. You have to actually read your journal, look at your paper map, and pay attention to the world. It makes you feel like a real explorer. You have to find your own way. The gameplay is also very different. The combat is based on old school D&D dice rolls. This means that even if you see your sword hit the enemy on the screen, your character might still miss because your skill level is too low. A lot of new players hate this, but it is part of the game. As you use your sword more, your skill goes up, and you start hitting almost every time. It is a true role-playing game. Your character's stats matter more than just your own reflexes. And the world does not care about your level. This is huge. In Skyrim, if you are level 5, the enemies are around your level. In Morrowind, if you are level 2 and you wander into the wrong cave, you will find an ancient vampire who will kill you in one single hit. The world is set. It is up to you to get strong enough to survive it. It makes it feel so much more real and dangerous. The magic system is also amazing. You can make your own spells, and the system is completely broken in the best way possible. You can make a spell that lets you jump so high, you can leap clear across the map in a few bounds. You can make spells to become invisible, walk on water, or charm people into loving you. It is so much fun to experiment. This game is not easy to play today. It looks old and you have to do a lot of reading. But if you can get past that, Morrowind offers one of the deepest, most unique, and most rewarding worlds ever created in a game. It does not hold your hand, it just drops you in and trusts you to figure it out.
Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2 is really special. A lot of people will tell you this is one of the greatest RPGs ever made, and they're not wrong. It came out on the original PlayStation back in 1998 or 1999 in the US. It's a sequel, but you really do not need to play the first game to understand this one. For years, this game was almost impossible to find. It did not sell well when it first came out, so it became super rare and expensive, which just made it even more of a legend. This game is not your typical save the world from an ancient evil story. It is a much more grounded and adult story about war, politics, and betrayal. It is incredibly emotional. You play as a young guy who gets to name himself, people usually call him Ryu, and you are part of a youth brigade for a big kingdom. With you is your best friend, Joey. The two of you are inseparable, but an event happens at the very beginning of the game that tears your lives apart, and you both get caught up in a huge, brutal war. The story is just top-notch.
It deals with some really heavy stuff. You see the ugly side of war, how it affects normal people, and how good people are forced to make terrible choices. The main story is all about your friendship with Joey, and you end up on different sides of the conflict. It is one of the best stories about friendship and rivalry in any video game. But the most famous thing about Suikoden 2 and the whole series is the 108 Stars of Destiny. This is the main mechanic. You do not just have a small party of 6 or 8 characters. You have to go out into the world and recruit 108 different people to join your cause. These are not all fighters. Some are soldiers and mages, but others are cooks, blacksmiths, farmers, librarians, and even just weirdos. Here's the best part. You get your own headquarters. You find this old, empty castle, and as you recruit these 108 people, they come to live in your castle. It grows and comes to life. The cook you recruited will open a restaurant in the dining hall. The blacksmith will set up a shop to upgrade your weapons. The old man you find will open an item shop. You can see all your characters walking around, talking to each other, and making your base feel like a real, bustling home. It is one of the most rewarding things in any RPG. The gameplay is also split into 3 different types, which is awesome. Normal combat, this is your standard turn-based RPG, but you have a 6-person party, which is way bigger than most games. This lets you use all the cool characters you find. There's also Unite attacks, where certain characters who have a connection can team up for a special, powerful move. Duels. Sometimes you'll get into a one-on-one fight with an important story character. This plays out like a game of rock, paper, scissors. You have to read your opponent's lines. What they say gives you a hint about what kind of attack they're going to use, and you have to pick the right counter. It's really tense and cool. War battles. Since this is a game about war, you actually fight in giant army battles. These are like a simple strategy game where you move your army units on a grid and fight other armies. It really sells the idea that you are a general leading a rebellion. The game is just beautiful. It has amazing 2D pixel art that still looks great today, and the music is incredible. It's a masterpiece with a story that will stick with you for a long, long time.
Pillars of Eternity. This game Pillars of Eternity is a love letter to all those old, deep computer RPGs from the 90s. I am talking about games like Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment. In fact, it was made by Obsidian Entertainment, a company full of people who worked on those original classics. They even funded it through Kickstarter, so it was paid for by the fans, and they made exactly the kind of game those fans wanted. That means it is huge, it is deep, and you're going to do a lot of reading, but the story is so worth it. The world is not your standard fantasy land. This is a new place called Aora, and you are in a part of it called the Deerwood. It feels like it is in a dark, early modern era. People have just invented guns, but they are still using swords and magic too. The biggest thing about this world is that they have just made a scientific discovery: souls are real. They are not just a religious idea, they are a real, measurable thing that can be studied, transferred, and manipulated. This new science is called animancy, and it is turning the whole world upside down and making all the religions freak out. This is where you come in. Your story starts with you traveling in a caravan to this new land, but a supernatural green storm hits. It kills everyone but you. You take shelter in a cave, and you accidentally stumble on some cultists performing a weird ritual on a giant, strange machine. The machine explodes with energy, and it hits you. This event changes you. You become a Watcher. Being a Watcher is not a superpower, it is more like a curse. It means you can see and hear souls. You can touch a person and see their past lives. You can talk to ghosts that nobody else can see. And because all these voices and memories are flooding your head, you are slowly going insane. Your main quest is not to save the world, at least not at first. You are just trying to find the people responsible for this, figure out what they did to you, and get it reversed before you lose your mind. While you are on your personal quest, you discover the big problem in the Deerwood, the hollow-born plague. Babies are being born with no souls. They are just empty, living shells. They do not respond to anything. They do not cry. They do not grow. They are just blank. This is, as you can guess, tearing the country apart. People are desperate, and they are blaming the animancers, the scientists who study souls. Your story gets tangled up in this big mystery. The gameplay is pure old school. It's a party-based game, so you control a team of up to 6 characters. The combat is real-time with pause. This means the fight happens in real time, but you can hit the space bar at any second to pause the entire game. This lets you stop, look at the battlefield, and give orders to your whole team. You can tell your fighter to block a doorway, your wizard to aim a fireball, and your priest to heal your tank. It is very tactical. The classes are awesome and super unique. You have your normal fighters and wizards, but you also have classes like the Chanter and the Cypher. A Chanter is like a bard who sings phrases in combat. As they sing, they build up power, and after a few phrases, they can unleash a powerful spell like summoning a dragon. A Cypher is a psychic warrior. They do not have a limited number of spells per day. Instead, they build up a resource called focus by attacking enemies with their weapons. Then they spend that focus to use powerful mind control magic on the enemies, like paralyzing them or making them attack their friends. You also get your own giant haunted castle called Caed Nua. You find it as a total ruin, but you can rebuild it over time, upgrade the rooms, hire guards, and it becomes your base of operations. It's a massive game, and if you liked the deep, heavy writing of Planescape, this is a game you have to play.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game is one of the biggest and best surprises to come out in a long time. It was made by a small, new developer in France called Sandfall Interactive. This was their very first game, and they made it on Unreal Engine 5, so it looks absolutely beautiful. It is one of those rare, new games that just feels special, like it came from a team that had one big, amazing idea and put everything they had into making it. The story is just completely different from anything else. It is set in this fantasy world that looks and feels like France from over 100 years ago, in the time they call the Belle Epoque. The art and the cities look like old, beautiful European paintings. But this beautiful world has a terrible curse. Every single year, this mysterious being called the Paintress wakes up. She goes to her giant monolith and paints a number. It might be 30, it might be 29, it might be 31. Whatever number she paints, every single person in the world who is that exact age instantly turns into smoke and fades away, just gone. They call this event the Gommage. Every year, the number ticks down. So a new group of people, an expedition, is sent on a one-way mission to find the Paintress and kill her before she can paint the next number. Every expedition before has failed. The game starts with the number 33 being painted, and you are part of Expedition 33. You and your team have just 1 year to travel across the world and stop her, or all of you will die. You play as a young woman named Mayal, and you join this desperate quest. It is a really dark and sad setup for a story, and it makes the whole journey feel super urgent. The gameplay is what makes this game a masterpiece. At first, it looks like a normal turn-based JRPG, like Final Fantasy. You have a party, you take turns picking moves like attack or skill, but this is where it gets smart. When you choose an attack, it is not just a cutscene. You have to actively play. There are timed button presses, like in the Paper Mario games. If you tap the button at the right second, you can chain attacks, do extra damage, or hit enemy weak spots. But the best part is what happens when the enemy attacks you. You do not just stand there and take the hit. When an enemy swings at your character, you have to dodge or parry in real time, just like in an action game like Dark Souls. If you time your parry just right, you block all the damage and can hit them back with a powerful counter. This system makes every single turn and every single fight feel super intense. You're not just picking moves from a menu, you are always on your toes, watching the enemy and waiting for the right moment to react. It is a perfect mix of old school turn-based thinking and new school action gameplay. It is so good.
Cyberpunk 2077, let's get this out of the way. The launch was terrible. Everyone knows it, but the team at CD Projekt Red spent years fixing it. Now, with all the big updates and the Phantom Liberty expansion, it is one of the best first-person RPGs you can possibly play. It is a deep, complex game hiding inside a very fast, very pretty shooter. The RPG stuff starts right at the beginning. You do not just make a character, you pick a life path. This is a huge choice. You can be a nomad who grew up in the wastelands outside the city, you can be a street kid who knows all the gangs and alleys, or you could be a corpo, an agent from one of the giant companies. This is not just a different 30-minute intro. This choice sticks with you for the entire 100-hour game. You will get special dialogue options that only a nomad would know, or you can talk your way out of a fight with a gang because you are a street kid. It makes your character feel like they actually belong in the world. Now, let's talk about the character sheet, because it has one. This is the heart of the game. You have 5 main attributes. Body. This is your strength. It makes you tougher, lets you use heavy weapons, and gives you more health. It also lets you do physical things in the world, like rip open locked doors or intimidate people in conversations. Reflexes. This is your speed. It makes you move faster, use fast attacking blades and assault rifles, and it unlocks perks that let you dash around in midair. Technical ability. This is your crafting and tech skill. It lets you build your own legendary weapons, disarm traps, and most importantly, it lets you install more cyberware. Intelligence. This is your hacking stat. This is for netrunners. A high int lets you use a cyber deck to fry an enemy's brain from a distance, shut down their weapons, or even make them fight their friends, all without ever firing a gun. Cool. This is your stealth and critical hit stat. It makes you a ninja. It also unlocks cold-blooded perks that make you stronger with every kill. And in conversations, it lets you stay calm and talk your way out of tense situations. Here is the best part. These stats unlock perk trees, and these trees are massive. You are not just good with pistols. You can get a perk that makes your pistol reloads faster, a perk that lets you shoot from behind cover with more power, and a perk that makes your last bullet in a clip do double damage. You can build a character who is a master of throwing knives, or a shotgun mutilator who gets health back every time he blasts someone. The build variety is insane. And then there is the cyberware. This is your real gear. This is your magic armor. You go to a Ripper dock and you get implants. You can replace your arms with mantis blades, giant swords, gorilla arms for punching, or a projectile launcher, rockets. You can get new legs that let you double jump. You can get a new skeleton that gives you more armor. The most famous one is the Sandevistan. This is the implant that lets you slow down time while you move at normal speed. You can literally walk up to a group of enemies, shoot them all in the head, and be back behind cover before the first body even hits the floor. It completely changes how you play. This all comes together in the quests. Every single mission has multiple solutions based on your build. The front door is guarded, so does your body stat let you force the back door open? Does your technical ability let you open a locked vent on the roof? Does your intelligence let you hack the security cameras and find a code? Does your reflexes with the double jump legs let you just leap over the wall? Does your cool stat let you talk the guard into letting you inside? This is what makes it a true RPG. You are not just following a story, you are building a character and solving problems your way. And the story with Johnny Silverhand is just the perfect engine to push you through this amazing, dark, and now beautifully fixed world.
Kingdom Come Deliverance is really, really different from all the others. This one is special. It was made by a team called Warhorse Studios from the Czech Republic. This is important because the game is set in their own country's history. There is no magic, no dragons, no fantasy. This is a 100% realistic RPG. The whole point of the game is to make you feel like you are actually living in the year 1403 in the land of Bohemia. You are not a hero. You are not a chosen one. You do not have any special powers. You play as a young man named Henry, and you are the son of the town's blacksmith. You are just a normal guy. You spend your first day in the game messing around with your friends, trying to collect some money your dad is owed, and maybe getting into a fistfight. You are nobody. Then, a huge army attacks your village. Your parents are murdered right in front of you. Your town is burned to the ground. You barely escape with your life. The rest of the game is your story. It starts as a quest for revenge, but it is really just about surviving. You have no money, no home, no skills, and you just lost everything. This is where the RPG systems get amazing. This game is all about realism. You do not pick a class. You have a bunch of skills, and you level them up by just doing them, just like in Morrowind or Skyrim. If you want to get better with a sword, you have to go to a trainer and actually practice and then use it in fights. If you want to get better at picking herbs, you have to go out and pick hundreds of flowers. If you want to get better at drinking alcohol, you literally have to just drink a lot. The best example of this is the reading skill. At the start of the game, Henry cannot read. He is a blacksmith's son, so he never learned how.
If you open a book, all the words on the page are just jumbled, scrambled letters. You cannot read signs, you cannot read recipes for potions, you cannot read treasure maps. To learn how, you have to find a scribe in a big town and pay him money to teach you your letters. You then sit down and slowly level up your reading skill. It is an amazing system. The combat is also totally unique. It is in first person, and it is a real physics-based sword fighting system. It is hard and it feels heavy. You cannot just run in and swing your sword. You have a 5-point star to aim your attacks. Head, left arm, left leg, right leg. You have to aim your blocks in the same direction the enemy is swinging. You have to manage your stamina. If you wear a full helmet, your screen is blocked and you can barely see. It is clunky and difficult on purpose. You are not a hero. You are a boy who barely knows how to hold a sword. You will get beaten by a single bandit in full armor. You have to train, learn, and earn every victory. The game is full of other real-life RPG mechanics. You have to eat and sleep. If you do not eat, you will starve. If you do not sleep, you will get exhausted and pass out. Your charisma skill is not just a number. It's based on what you're wearing. If you walk into a castle covered in blood and mud from a fight, the nobles will refuse to even talk to you. You have to go to a bathhouse, get a bath, and put on clean, fancy clothes. Then people will respect you. Even saving the game is an RPG mechanic. You can't just save anywhere you want. You have to sleep in a bed that you own, or you have to drink a special expensive alcohol called Savior Schnapps. This means you can't just reload if you make a mistake. You have to live with your choices. This game is slow, it is hard, but it is one of the most rewarding and immersive RPGs ever made.
Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is an absolute monster in the best way possible. This was made by Owlcat Games, a team from Russia that absolutely loves old-school, super deep computer RPGs. This is based on the Pathfinder tabletop game, which is basically like a more complex and detailed version of Dungeons & Dragons. This is the second Pathfinder game they made, and they took everything they learned from the first one and just made it bigger and more epic. The story is not some small personal quest. It is a full-scale end-of-the-world war. For 100 years, there has been this giant glowing rip in the land called the World Wound. It is a literal open door to the abyss, the demon dimension. An endless army of demons has been pouring out and the world has been barely holding them back in a massive ongoing crusade. The game starts with you showing up in a city on the front lines called Canabras. Within the first 20 minutes, a demon lord attacks the city, kills the giant dragon protecting it, and just completely destroys everything. You fall into a deep cavern under the city, and this is where you find out you are special. You get a mysterious divine power you cannot explain. Because of this new power, you become the only person who can really fight back. You escape the ruined city, and the desperate survivors pretty much look at you and decide you are the new leader. You become the Knight Commander of the 5th Crusade. You are not just an adventurer, you are the general. The normal gameplay is what you would expect from a classic PC RPG. It's an isometric game where you build a party of 6 characters. You get a bunch of amazing companions, all with their own deep stories. The combat runs in real time with pause, so you can stop the action at any time to give orders. But the best feature they added is a button that lets you instantly switch the entire game to a full turn-based mode. If a fight is too crazy, you can just click it and play it slow, like a chess match. It is an amazing system. But the real unique thing about this game is the mythic paths. This is the most important part. Because you have that special power, you do not just level up normally. You also level up on a mythic track. About a third of the way into the game, you have to make a huge choice. You have to pick a path that defines your power, and these choices are insane. You can become a literal angel, growing your own halo and wings and using holy magic to smite demons. You can choose to fight fire with fire and become a demon yourself, using demonic rage to transform. You can become an undead lich who raises an army of skeletons and doesn't care about the living. You can be a trickster who doesn't care about the war and just wants to mess with reality. There are 10 of these paths, and they completely change the story, your powers, and even what your character looks like. And on top of all that, you're still the commander. There's a whole other game layered on top where you manage the entire crusade. You're on a world map and you have to recruit generals, build up armies of soldiers, and move them around to fight the demon armies and reclaim territory. It's like a whole Heroes of Might and Magic strategy game built right inside this massive RPG.
This game is huge. It will easily take you over 100 hours. The number of classes, spells, and choices is just massive. It's a true epic where you go from a nobody to a literal demigod.